Hi there. It's Jody again with Career Development and Civic Engagement here at Central College. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that a lot of students and a lot of professionals have some uneasiness about doing, and that is called salary negotiation. Being able to effectively negotiate your salary and your benefits and total compensation package while you're interviewing for a position and being offered that position is a very valuable tool to have. And today we are going to give you some basic steps on how you can effectively do that when you land that full-time position after Central. So to kind of give you an idea of where we'll be going today, I'll just start by talking about what an offer even looks like. So some of you may have been had a position in the past, and maybe it was a part-time position, maybe it was even a full-time position. And so more than likely you were presented with an offer that you had to accept. And so we'll go through that process for those students that maybe haven't had the chance to accept an offer. So we'll break down what that looks like. In terms of salary, we'll talk through what a base salary is, what's included in that, and things that you need to be mindful of when you are negotiating your offer letter. This idea of total compensation package, I'll talk to you about what that means. It's more than just your salary, so we'll go through that. And then finally, we will kind of briefly talk about the types of things that you can potentially negotiate, because it's not just about the money. There are other things that you may want to be able to negotiate in terms of your offer letter, and we'll go through that. And finally, I'll give you a step-by-step process on how to effectively negotiate, and then provide you some additional tools for you to be able to do your own research to learn how to effectively negotiate when you're presented an offer. So let's dive right in. All right, in terms of reviewing an offer, most of you that have had an offer in the past, more than likely, it starts with a phone call where that employer contacts you and says that they would like to make an offer to you. And so they make that verbal offer. Definitely, if you do get that verbal offer, I would most definitely ask for that to be in writing. The reason you want to ask for that to be in writing is because that way you have some sort of paper trail to verify what the offer was that was presented to you. The last thing that you want to have happen is that you were given a verbal offer saying that you were going to make $60,000 per year, for example. And then when you get your first paycheck, it represents that you're only making maybe $40,000 per year based off of your hourly wage. And you won't have any ability to negotiate that because all you had was a verbal offer. And at that point, it would be your word versus that employer's. And so that doesn't leave you in a very good position. So we do recommend that you get your offer letter in writing. Most typically, employers do request that you sign those offer letters. And that's a pretty common process, but you may come across those that don't necessarily offer to provide an offer letter in writing, and I would definitely encourage you to ask for one in writing. But let's take a look at what that letter would look like, and once it's presented to you in writing. All right, so what's included on a job offer letter? So it should include your job title listed on that offer letter. Typically, it's at the top of the offer letter. It should give you some form of job description. More typically than not, if that offer letter includes an attachment that has the full job description listed. If they do not provide you a job description, I recommend that you ask for one so that way you could be aware of the duties that you're going to be expected to do in that position. It should tell you what the reporting structure is. So who is your manager? What is their name, contact information? Who are you going to be reporting to? That should be included in the offer letter. It also should have a start date listed for you. Sometimes you'll have to sign maybe one or two offer letters because your start date changes because of a background check, for example. It takes a little bit longer than they thought, or something with the IT department doesn't come through. So they may have to change your start date. If they do that, then you would need to sign a new offer letter. Your salary information should be listed as well. So if your salary information is not listed on the offer letter, then most definitely I would request that to be included in that offer letter. And then any benefits or any information about your benefits should also be listed on there. More often than not, that's a secondary attachment that breaks down what your health insurance is, if you're offered that, what your retirement, those types of benefits look like. And then typically they'll close off that offer letter, asking you to acknowledge that you were sent the offer letter, and then you would sign and return it to show that you're accepting that offer. All right, so that's really what an offer letter looks like. But let's talk about in terms of on that offer letter, there's an amount of money listed. So say they listed that you're going to be making $60,000 a year. That may be more money than you've ever made, and congratulations on receiving that offer. And it may look like a lot of money on paper. It very well could be a lot of money to you. However, you are going to want to take some things into consideration when looking at that base salary. The base salary is just a portion of your total compensation package. I'll talk to you a little bit more here later about compensation packages, but just keep in mind that's only a portion of your total compensation package in terms of the money. Okay, things you want to keep in mind, especially if you're paid salary or even hourly. Taxes will be taken out of your paycheck. So you need to understand what tax bracket you're going to be in. So depending on the amount of money you make per year, you could be placed into a lower tax bracket or a higher tax bracket. You are going to want to know what tax bracket you're in, because that's going to determine the amount of state and federal taxes that are going to be taken out. You may also have some local taxes that will be taken out depending on where that position is located and where you're going to be living. So you're going to take that into consideration. You're also going to want to take into consideration the cost of living wherever you're going to be employed. So I'll show you on the next slide an example of what it would be to live in Iowa versus living in Colorado. There, you will notice that there's a big difference in the cost of living between the rents, utility, car payments, cell phone, groceries, entertainment. Those are all things that have a different cost depending on where you want to live, and you need to take that into consideration. Let's take a look at an example. So on this slide, you are looking at the taxes of what it would be like to live in Des Moines in the year 2021 versus what it would look like to live in Denver in the year 2021. What I want to draw your attention to is the different state taxes, and then also have you take a look at local taxes as well. Okay, so on the left side, you will see in Des Moines, there is a tax rate of 7.44%. And then in Denver, there's a tax rate of 4.5%. So you need to be mindful of that. Obviously, there's a difference there. So the amount of money that's going to be coming out of your paycheck will be different based off of that different state tax rate. You're also going to want to be looking at just in general what it looks like. So for example, living in Des Moines, you will have, making the same amount of money, you are going to have $12,261 in taxes taken out over the course of a year. Okay, but if you're living in Denver, you're going to have $15,226. Okay, so you may be making more money in Denver, but you are going to actually take home less because of the tax rate. Okay, if you have any questions about that, let us know, but that's something you definitely want to take into consideration. You also want to pay attention, or actually you can have the HR department, you can ask them, could they send you what your potential paycheck would look like? Can they provide those calculations for you? It's perfectly okay to ask for that. Like, I want to know, what my take-home pay is going to look like. Can you figure what the taxes and the benefits would look like for me? So that way you can make a determination based off of actual information versus estimates. Okay, in terms of cost of living, so looking again at living in either Des Moines or Denver, you will notice that the rent in Denver is considerably higher than the rent to live in Des Moines. You are going to want to take that in consideration, right? So the rent in Des Moines, it's about $12,000 a year, so $1,000 a month in rent. But to live in Denver, it's about $22,000 per year. So that is quite a bit more. You're looking at $1,500, $1,600 a month in rent that you're going to have to pay. You want to take that in consideration when you're looking at your salary. Is that salary going to be enough for you to live month to month in terms of your rent, your utilities, your groceries, the fun stuff that you want to do? You need to make sure that that salary can cover that. Okay, looking at your total compensation. So this chart on the screen kind of goes through what that total compensation is. So we talked about that base salary information. When you're given that base salary, you're going to make $60,000 per year. You want to know what your man is compared to that salary information. So what is your man? That is your minimum acceptable number, okay? Plus 10%. So you want to know what it takes, the bare minimum for you to live, for example, in Des Moines. That is your rent, your utilities, groceries, entertainment. What's it going to take for you to live? Okay. And then you want to add 10% onto that. That should be the salary that is listed on your offer letter. If it's not, you need to determine whether or not you're able to live based off that wage, thinking about your man plus that 10%. Okay. Retirement benefits. More often than not, most employers offer some form of retirement. There are different forms of retirements. There's a 401k, there's profit sharing, and there's a pension benefit. You need to know which one that you're falling into. You need to know what rate that you will be paying in to that retirement account. Is it a mandatory that you have to put in 5% of your paycheck? Is it voluntary? What is the reimbursement rate based off or the matching rate of the employer? Are they going to match what you're putting in? Are they going to put in 10%? What are they putting in? Because you do need to save for retirement, and it starts from day one. In terms of benefits, what type of benefits are they going to give you? Are they offering health benefits? Do they offer dental benefits? Is there chiropractic care, mental health benefits, vision benefits? Do they offer some sort of tuition discount program? If they do, what does that look like? You know, potentially if you have your degree in business and you want to go on and get your MBA, some companies will pay for you to get that MBA. But what does that look like for you? Do you have to stay at that company for 5 years after you get the degree? Do you have to pay that back if you leave early? These are all things that you want to pay attention to. Location, again, we already kind of hit this, but you need to pay attention to the cost of living in that location. What's the state and local taxes looking like? What's the rent look like? What's the grocery amount look like? What do utilities look like? You really want to take that into consideration when you're determining that minimum acceptable number plus the 10% for your salary. Excuse me. Do they offer bonuses? So is there a one-time sign-on bonus? Do you get it all up front? Do you have to be there? You get half of it up front, then you get the other half in 6 months. Do you get an annual bonus? Is it something that they pay out each Christmas for you? If so, that's great. You can add that on to the base salary, but you need to pay attention that that bonus is taxed, and typically it's taxed very aggressively. So you need to understand how much of that money is actually going to be paid into taxes. So if they say, yep, we're going to give you a $10,000 bonus every December, but it's taxed heavily at 50%, that means you're only getting $5,000, right? And so that may be perfect. That may fit into that minimal acceptable number for you, but maybe it doesn't, and you need to pay attention to that. You also need to pay attention to any form of repayment agreement. So if you get a sign-on bonus and they pay that money up front, and say you leave in 6 months, it's possible that you may have to pay part of that sign-on bonus back. So you need to pay attention to that as well. Kind of briefly looking at health benefits because they can be extremely confusing. I highly recommend that you reach out to their HR department, whoever is over the insurance, to have a thorough discussion of the insurance benefit, because When you're coming out of college, typically you probably have not had to deal a whole lot with your health insurance because mom, dad, or whoever you're living with or cover you for health insurance has probably already figured this out for you based off of their employer plan, private plan, or whatever. Typically, though, there are two types of plans. There's a PPO plan or a high deductible plan, HMO plan. So the PPO plan that typically comes with lower deductibles but higher monthly premiums. So that's you're going to pay more upfront, but then you're going to have to pay less at the doctor's office. They offer a large variety of providers. Sometimes they have in-network, out-of-network providers. Usually, overall, it's better coverage, but again, you're going to have to pay more for it. For a high deductible plan or a health savings plan, typically it's for people, healthy individuals, single individuals that don't go to the doctor very often. Usually your routine physicals, those types of things are covered in full. But anything outside of that, you have a higher deductible, but a lower premium month to month. So that high deductible means you're paying more upfront when you go to the doctor before your insurance will kick in. Some of the employers have a health savings plan where they automatically pay in per month for you so you can get reimbursed for those out-of-pocket medical expenses, but that's not all plans. And sometimes you are required to pay in monthly to that health savings account, so you really need to pay attention to that. Again, PPO plan, you pay more per month, but that you get a better benefit. So it's better coverage. High deductible plan, pay less per month, but you're going to have to pay more at the doctor. Okay. All right, so recapping all of that information. So when you get an offer, you want to review the total compensation package. That includes your base salary, that includes any benefits, health, dental, those type of benefits, your retirement. You're going to want to review, do they have any tuition reimbursement or other perks? Those types of things. You're gonna want to know if they offer a bonus. Is it a one-time bonus? Is it a yearly bonus? Okay, you're gonna want to take that whole thing into consideration, right? And in the back of your mind, remember you need that that minimal acceptable number plus 10%. Okay. And then you want to take that package and you want to compare it to other offers. Okay, but how do you do that? Right? How do you compare an offer to somewhere else when you've never applied or been given an offer before? Great question. There are some websites out there that you can go out and access to get that information. So the one that I like to refer students to is glassdoor.com. Again, that's glassdoor.com. By going out to that website, they actually provide salary information and health information, benefit information. This is where you can go out. You do have to sign up for an account, but it's free. You can link it to your Gmail account, for example. Once you do that, you can search employers and it lists real information. It lists information on salary, so certain positions. It lists information on compensation, so your health, dental benefits, your vacation, all of that information is out there. It's real employees that have reported this information about that employer. What's great about it is that the employer cannot delete anything that's listed. Employees can go out and review the employer as well. So you can find out information about the work-life balance, the culture, the benefits, all of the things, which is a really great tool. So I highly recommend you check that out. You can discuss that package with people in your network. So, with a faculty member, with, your parents. If you know somebody else that works at that company, talk to them about that. Use the alumni tool on LinkedIn to find somebody that is in the same employment as you and ask them about it. I cannot emphasize enough that you need to compare this package to others and then talk to others, because quite frankly, employers may very well lowball you. I can give you an example. I worked with a student last semester, brand new graduating engineering student, went to a company, applied, was given an offer, came in, said, I think this is a pretty good offer. What do you think? We hopped on Glassdoor, typed in that company, and come to find out they were being offered about $10,000 less than what they actually were paying engineers of that level based off of what Glassdoor was saying and based off of what the market trends was. They were banking that the student was not going to do their research. And so they offered that to the student. The student and I talked about how they can negotiate that. They went back and they said, look, this is what, engineers at my degree level, my experience level are being paid consistently in the state of Iowa and even at your company. I deserve more. And guess what? That company came up to $10,000 and paid that student at the rate that they should have been being paid at. So do your research, okay? And then if you find that you do need to negotiate, you need to have a plan and you need to practice that plan. So let's kind of look at what that plan should look like. So we'll go through each of these, but first and foremost, you need to do your research. We kind of already talked through that, how to do that research. You need to come up with a plan. What is it that you want to negotiate? Excuse me. Is it that base salary? Is it something with the benefits? Is it something with vacation? What is it that you need to negotiate? And then once you figure that out, you need to graciously thank them for that offer, but then you need to establish that you do want to be part of this team, but you think you deserve more and why you deserve more. Talk about your qualities. And then understand politeness goes a long way in this. You don't want to come in there with an iron fist. You actually want to come in, be polite, make your case, and it'll go much further than trying to come in and strong arm an employer, okay? So in terms of researching and planning, right? You need to identify the salary range for that position. So do your research, know what they pay. If you're going to be an engineer, know what they pay engineers at that level. Know your man, right? I've already said it probably 100 times. Know that minimum acceptable number plus the 10%. So know what you need to be at in order to live, okay? And then establish what you want to negotiate. It's not just about the money. There's other items that you can negotiate. You can negotiate health insurance. You can negotiate daycare. You can negotiate retirement, all kinds of things. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then you want to negotiate effectively, right? So again, you want to express your gratitude for them to offer that position, right? And you want to say that you're thankful for them offering the position. You really do want to be part of the team. However, you have some concerns and you need some things to be addressed. And then explain to them what you would like. If it's a pay increase, let them know what you need. And then establish that case by discussing your skills, your abilities, and qualities. Okay, be firm, but be polite in that information, because politeness goes a very long way in terms of negotiation. Because remember, you are on the same team. It's not a tennis match where you're hitting back and forth. You both are on the same team. This employer wants you. You are the best candidate because they're offering you the position. They want you to take the position. So remember, to negotiate effectively, be polite. Okay. And then there are a whole host of videos out there that I highly recommend that you go check out on our YouTube channel. The first one is a really great tool that walks you through step by step on how to negotiate. And then the other two are shorter videos that also provide some really great resources for you. So please check them out on our YouTube channel.
If you'd rather go to the dentist than negotiate.
All right. Apologize for that. And some final food for thought is, you really do want to start out on the right foot, right? So, you don't want to be feeling uncomfortable with the amount of pay that you're being offered. It's more difficult to move into a new role at a lower rate down the line because you don't have as much negotiation power. Okay. So you really want to make sure that you're starting out where you need to be. And then asking for a raise does show the employer that you have confidence in yourself. So really think about that. And then it sets you up for future success. You don't want to enter an employer where you're unhappy because you're going to be at work more than you're going to be at home probably. So you need to take that into consideration as well. All right. Well, that's all I've got for you today. If you have questions, please come up to our offices and check us out. All right. Thank you.